As we get into this morning's preview, I would like to thank Jeremy, who apparently is a Flyers fan, for the magazines and all of their wonderfulness. Wonderfulness is a word, look it up. Including this franchise, Linden, all that wonderful stuff. 21-year-old captain is pushing the Canucks towards a Stanley Cup. Oh, I'm sure it's a good read. That he's pushing him towards a Stanley Cup. So, good times. Good time. That being said, let's go ahead and talk about some hockey from tonight. We have 11 games on tonight, so it's a pretty big day. Detroit in against the Buffalo Sabres. Yeah, it's a barn burner. But what's interesting is that this game is interesting to me because Buffalo, who are 24-24-8 at home against the 14-39-4 Detroit Red Wings. Yeah, 14 wins. They're feeling pretty good about themselves. They're now 2-7-1 in their last 10 on the road. They're 5-21-2. So, it's getting somewhat better for Detroit. On the Buffalo side, they're 4-5-1 in their last 10, and they're 15-10-4 at home. They cannot afford to lose against Detroit again. So, the record between these teams this year is interesting. Buffalo's got 5 out of 6 points against Detroit. But they were 2-0 winners October 25th in Detroit. They won in Detroit 5-1, and then they lost in a shootout, February 6th 4-3. So October, Buffalo wins. January, Buffalo wins. February, Detroit wins. We're still in February, obviously. We'll see what happens tonight as Buffalo continues to struggle with being anywhere near the playoff picture. Now, what I did today for scoring is I went with road scoring, home scoring for each game. So, road scoring leaders for the Detroit Red Wings this year. Bertuzzi, 13 goals, 7 assists. Larkin, 8 goals and 12 assists. Fabry, 3 goals, 11 assists. Mantha, 4 goals, 9 assists. Could be back tonight. I haven't seen yet whether he will be. I'm guessing yes. Athanasiou, 3 goals and 10 assists to round out the scoring for the Red Wings. On the Buffalo side, Eichel, 23 goals, 20 assists for 43 points. Reinhart, 13 goals, 14 assists. Olofsson, 9 goals, 10 assists. No word yet on when he's coming back. Dahlin, 1 goal, 14 assists. And Skinner, with 8 goals and 6 assists, 14 points. Was around the net a lot in their last game. Couldn't buy a goal, and it's really become quite the struggle for him. So, yeah, we'll see what happens tonight. But if Buffalo loses again, can it get worse? I don't know that it can. I'm being honest. Arizona in against the Toronto Maple Leafs. These games, all 4 of them start at 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern. Arizona's 28-23-7 over their last 10. They're 3-5-2. On the road, they're 15-12-3. Coming off of a win last night against Montreal, which means that going into Toronto, I suspect Toronto beats them because it's a back-to-back. But the other news, too, on the Arizona front is apparently Darcy Kemper. Something happened with him yesterday. He could have played, maybe might have played, and there's some kind of an injury problem with him, some sort of setback. So we'll see. It'll probably be Aiden Hill tonight. Toronto 29-19-8 overall. Over their last 10, they're 5-3-2, and at home they're 14-7-7. These teams met November 21st. That was a big game for Toronto, as I remember it, and Toronto won it 3-1. That was an important first step, and since then their record's been pretty darn good overall. But being reactionary as sports fans are, it depends on what day of the week it is and how they did in their last game as to whether people are going to think these guys are any good or not. Scoring leaders away from home for the Arizona Coyotes. Keller, 7 goals, 14 assists. Kessel, 4 goals, 14 assists. Ekman-Larsson, 4 goals, 14 assists. Schmaltz, 3 goals, 15 assists. And Soderberg, 7 goals and 8 assists. That's 3 players with 18 points on the road this year. At home, Austin Matthews, this kid's pretty good. He's got 29 goals in 28 home games, 16 assists, 45 points overall. Marner, 4 goals, 31 assists, 35 points. Nylander, 12 goals, 11 assists. Tavares, 9 goals and 12 assists. And Tyson Barrie, 1 goal, 15 assists for him. So overall, the numbers would tell you this Matthews and Marner duo works pretty darn well. And so for Toronto, we could talk about costs, but these guys are superstar players. And we'll see how they do tonight against Arizona, which is a decent test. Next up, Florida. So the Panthers in against New Jersey. Don't take New Jersey lightly. New Jersey's been playing pretty well lately. And Blackwood's been pretty good lately. So I would expect to see Blackwood against Florida. And since Florida played last night and lost, I don't know. Do you go with Bobrovsky again? Does Montembeault get a start? Is Drieger coming back? We'll see. Florida's 29-20-6. They're 5-4-1 in their last 10. On the road, they're 13-10-4. And it has to smart with that loss last night because, again, they're in a situation where they can kind of put Toronto away, and they haven't been able to do it for the last couple of weeks. So for people who are like, oh, Toronto's not even going to make the playoffs, yet the problem with that theory is that Florida has to be able to pick up their gear and move forward and clinch that spot, and they're just not doing it. New Jersey's 20-24-10 now. Over their last 10, they're 4-3-3, and at home, they've got the bizarre record of 8-9-10. So you could get the count from Sesame Street to do that part of the preview today. October 14th, these teams met in New Jersey. Florida won 6-4. I actually remember that game. That was one of those ones that pretty sure it was Corey Schneider, and it was a rough loss. New Jersey had a lead, and then they didn't. Florida beat them. Their next meeting will be March 14th in Florida. This one tonight, of course, in New Jersey. Road scoring for Florida. Their scoring leader on the road is Huberdeau, 8 goals, 17 assists. Dadonov, 14 goals and 9 assists. Barkov, 5 goals, 16 assists. Hoffman has 7 goals and 12 assists. And Keith Yandel, 2 goals, 17 assists to round out the scoring on the road for the Florida Panthers. New Jersey, Paul Mary is their leading scorer, 15 goals, 9 assists for him. Hischier, 5 goals, 13 assists. I'm wondering how many people are going to correct me this morning and say, those numbers are so wrong. That's not how many points they've got this year. Yeah, these are home numbers for New Jersey. Hischier, 5 goals, 13 assists. Bratt with 8 goals and 8 assists. It's pretty good at home. Gusev, 6 goals, 10 assists. And Coleman with 11 goals, 4 assists. Rounds out the scoring for the New Jersey Devils. If I had to wager on it, I would say, well, I like Florida's chances, but after their loss to Philly last night, who knows? Who knows? Speaking of the Philadelphia Flyers, they're in against New York Islanders tonight, so 2 teams that won last night, division rivals. This should be a really fun game to watch. Now, Philadelphia is 31-18-7. Over their last 10, they're now 7-2-1. So excellent numbers for Philadelphia overall. On the road, they're 12-13-3. That road record is getting better. And they're in against the Islanders tonight. The Islanders, 32-16-6. They're now 5-3-2 in their last 10. Should have some confidence coming off of that win against the Washington Capitals last night. And they're 17-7-4 at home. So for the Islanders, definitely things looking brighter right now than they were, say, about a week ago. Now, October 27th, Philadelphia lost in New York 5-3. On November 16th, the Islanders beat Philadelphia in a shootout 4-3. The next time these teams meet will be March 24th in Philadelphia. So, pretty good season series we got going on here. The Islanders with a win on the road in Florida, in Philly. They have yet to lose against the Flyers this year. We'll see if they can make it 3 in a row. Giroux leads the scorers for Philadelphia on the road. 9 goals, 12 assists on the road this year. Konechny, 7 goals, 14 assists. Couturier, 6 goals, 15 assists. 3 players with 21 points on the road. Voracek, 6 goals, 14 assists. Kevin Hayes, 6 goals and 7 assists. Rounds out your top 5 for the Philadelphia Flyers. Yes, had that right. New York Islanders, Barzal leads their home scoring with 10 goals, 18 assists. Nelson, 12 goals, 13 assists. He had a great night last night. So did Beauvillier, who has 10 goals and 13 assists. Lee with 11 goals, 8 assists. And Pulock, 4 goals, 15 assists, 19 points for the New York Islanders at home. So the overall numbers, I like the Islanders' record at home. I would probably take the Islanders in this one, but Philadelphia's charging pretty strongly lately, and they understand what's on the line. And for the East, it seems like all these teams are kind of bunching together. See, in the West, you've got the Pacific, but in the East, you've got the race for that wild card, whether it's wild card 1 or 2. It's going to get really interesting. That being said, I need to change boards. Tampa Bay and Pittsburgh. And this is a matchup that's awesome. It's just great, and I'm glad we're going to see it again tonight for the third and final time in the regular season. Do these teams meet in the playoffs? That's the big question. Might take a conference final, but boy, a conference final between Tampa Bay and Pittsburgh, that could be fun. Tampa Bay's 36-15-5. Pittsburgh? Pittsburgh's 34-15-5. So very similar records. Tampa Bay's won both matchups with Pittsburgh so far this year, but they've both been close. Over their last 10, Tampa Bay's 8-1-1. They've won 7 in a row. And it's not even noticeable with Tampa Bay because we're used to that from last season. So they won 7 in a row. Yeah, it's fine. I guess that's fine. But yeah, 36 wins out of 56 games so far, and we're really not talking about it because it's just sort of assumed that's the way things work. On the road, they're 18-8-3, so they're fantastic at home or away from home right now. The Pittsburgh Penguins, 7-3 in their last 10, not too shabby, and at home they're 19-5-3. As I said, Tampa's won both matchups. October 23rd, Tampa Bay wins 3-2 at home against Pittsburgh. And at home again on February 6th, they win 4-2. So this is their only trip to Pittsburgh this year. And we'll see whether or not Pittsburgh has revenge on their minds. Scoring leaders on the road this season for Tampa. Kucherov, 15 goals, 17 assists. Stamkos, 12 goals and 18 assists. Braden Point, 8 goals, 18 assists. Cirelli, 8 goals and 12 helpers. Same total as Andre Palat. So, pretty strong scoring all along from top to bottom with Tampa. This is just how it works. We'll see whether or not they miss Ryan McDonough tonight. Last night, unless you mention it to them, it's not really a problem. They're pretty good. They have some pretty decent depth. On the Pittsburgh side of things, Rust leads them in scoring at home. 12 goals, 17 assists, 29 points. So he's been great at home. And that's in, I think it's 19 games. Gensel, 13 goals, 15 assists. Yes, I will have players up here even if they're injured, even if they're done for the season, because it points out that these players have been really important. Somebody's going to have to step up. Malkin, 10 goals, 18 assists. Crosby, 6 goals, 14 assists. And McCann, 9 goals and 10 assists. People just starting to find out that McCann's a pretty good player. Yeah, I know that. There was a video on this channel very, very early of when the Canucks traded McCann, and I wasn't happy about it. People just catching up now to the idea that he's a good player. I understand, though, I found out after why the Canucks traded him and everything, and it's an interesting story. However, at this point, that doesn't matter. His career's in Pittsburgh, and he's been a really, really good fit for Pittsburgh. All right, moving along. Vegas is in against Minnesota. Vegas on the road. So they were home. Now they're back on the road. They're 28-21-8 overall. Over their last 10, they're 4-4-2. So for Vegas, it's been a bit of a mixed bag over the last month. On the road, they're 14-11-4. And under Peter DeBoer, the record seems to be a little bit better than it was, but we'll see how things go in Minnesota tonight. Minnesota is in a dogfight for that last wildcard spot. They're 26-23-6. Trading out Jason Zucker, to me, doesn't say that they're throwing in the towel on the season. Zucker is not that player. And while it's going to be great to see him in Pittsburgh and see what he can do there, he's really not that player. And Minnesota's wanted to get that contract gone since before Guerin got there. 6-4 in their last 10. At home, they're 16-8-4. So we'll see how things work tonight. Whether or not Galchenyuk shows up right away or what Galchenyuk does after he gets there. These teams met December 17th in Vegas. The Vegas Golden Knights won that one, 3-2. They will meet again March 12th in Minnesota. So this is a pretty big matchup for Vegas as they watched Vancouver get a 3-point lead atop the division last night. They will be looking to answer with a win. Stone leads them in road scoring this year with 8 goals, 19 assists. Smith, 11 goals, 14 assists. Marchessault, 14 goals and 10 assists. Pacioretty, 12 goals, 12 assists. And Shea Theodore, 4 goals, 16 assists for 20 points. On the Minnesota side of things, Stahl, 10 goals, 13 assists for 23 points. Fiala, who's been excellent lately, 8 goals, 11 assists. Kevin Fiala starting to become that player that he was expected to be when he was drafted. 8 goals, 11 assists, 19 points for him. Ahead of Parise, who has 10 goals, 8 assists for 18 points. Cunnin, 8 goals, 9 assists, 17 points. And Spurgeon, 6 goals and 11 assists at home this year for the Minnesota Wild. So Spurgeon, pretty decent overall numbers for him and for the Minnesota Wild, who are close to a playoff spot, but it's going to be tight. Whether or not they can get in remains to be seen. Next up, Rangers in against Winnipeg. Speaking of playoffs, right now Winnipeg's in there, and the Rangers, they need to get to 5 games above 500. They're at 27, 23, and 4 right now. And I think it's 4 times that they've had a chance to get to 5 games above 500, and they've failed each time. So they will be trying again tonight against a Winnipeg team that's looked pretty good lately. Now, over their last 10, the Rangers are 6-4. On the road, they're 11-11-2. Whereas Winnipeg, they're 29, 23, and 5, so 6 games above 500. 4-5-1 in their last 10. So that makes you think, well, they're not playing very well. But they've won 3 out of 4, so it's getting better. At home, they're 14, 12, and 3. October 3rd, the Rangers won this meeting 6-4 in New York. So Winnipeg, we'll see whether or not they can even up the season series tonight at home. Panarin leads the Rangers in scoring on the road this year with 13 goals and 18 assists. Strome has 5 goals, 15 assists. Zibanejad, 13 goals and 6 assists on the road. Trouba, 5 goals, 8 assists. Of course, when he plays against Winnipeg, it makes news. And Kreider, 4 goals, 9 assists if he's still a member of the Rangers at the time this game goes live. I'm thinking he is, since apparently they're going to talk contract with him. On the Winnipeg side of things, Connor, 15 goals, 14 assists, 29 points. He's been excellent. Scheifele, 11 goals, 16 assists, 27 points. Got 2 assists at the tail end of that game the other night. We'll see if that gets him going. Laine, 15 goals, 11 assists, 26 points. 4 goals in his last 2 games. Wheeler, 8 goals, 14 assists for him. And Pionk, 1 goal, 21 assists, 22 points. So it's Pionk versus Trouba, 2 completely different defensemen that play completely different games. And yet being traded for one another means we'll analyze this one quite strongly. I still think Winnipeg wins that deal, but I understand why Rangers fans wanted that deal and love that deal, and why some people think Trouba's fantastic. We'll see how things work out tonight. I find myself kind of rooting for Winnipeg. I am to the point now where I'm thinking, if Winnipeg, Edmonton, Calgary, and Vancouver all make the playoffs, that would be simply fantastic for hockey in general. And then in the East, you get Toronto in there. I want to say if Montreal made it, that'd be awesome. Again, trying to make those numbers work. Without Toronto being the team that falls out, it's pretty difficult. All right, next up, Carolina. So the Hurricanes in against Dallas. And for Carolina, they're 32, 20, and 3 overall. They're 5-4-1 in their last 10. They're 14, 11, and 2 on the road. The problem is they've lost ground on some of the teams in their conference and their division. And the pace you have to keep up in the East in order to stay in the playoffs is about a 100-point pace. And it gets difficult because not every team can do that. Now, they're in against Dallas, who are in better shape in the West to make the playoffs at 31, 19, and 5. The interesting thing being they both have the same number of points. And Carolina has one more win than Dallas. So it's really interesting the difference between the West and the East here. 5-4-1 in their last 10, the Dallas Stars. At home, they're 16, 9, and 2. So, yeah, we'll see what happens tonight. This is the first time they've met each other. They will meet again February 25th in Carolina. And so we'll see how this goes. These two teams could have a pretty hefty ability to affect the other team's playoff positioning, or in Carolina's case, they're trying to make the playoffs at all. Aho, 17 goals, 8 assists, leads Carolina in road scoring this year. Teravainen, 4 goals, 21 assists. Svechnikov, 9 goals, 14 assists for him. Hamilton, who of course is out for the year, 6 goals, 12 assists. And Netchus, 7 goals, 7 assists, 14 points for him. On the Dallas side of things, I don't know why I would think Detroit, Radulov, 10 goals, 9 assists to lead the team in scoring. Sagan, 4 goals, 15 assists. Sagan really needs a goal here. 4 goals at home just doesn't cut it. Jamie Benn, 9 goals, 4 assists for him. Heiskanen, 2 goals, 11 assists. And Klingberg with 13 assists. I'm surprised he doesn't have a goal at home. I am mildly surprised that Klingberg doesn't have a goal at home yet this year. But for Dallas, this is one of those games where they've watched Colorado keep winning games. St. Louis definitely looks vulnerable right now. If Dallas wants to improve their lot in that division, win a few more games, and we'll see how things turn out. That being said, I need to change boards. And we've got 3 later games. So everything's 7 o'clock, 4 o'clock Pacific until 8 o'clock. Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific for the Minnesota game and for Winnipeg, and then 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific for the game in Dallas. 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific, you get into the Colorado Avalanche at home against the Ottawa Senators. 18, 26, and 11 for Ottawa. In their last 10, they're 2-4-4. On the road, they're 6, 16, and 5. So for Ottawa, it's all kind of mediocre numbers. Mediocre to bad numbers. On the Colorado side of things, they're 32, 16, and 6. Over their last 10, they're 7, 1, and 2. At home, they're 14, 7, and 4. They've been on a roll. And February 6th, 5 days ago, Colorado went in and beat Ottawa 4-1. So Colorado's already shown they can beat Ottawa. Now they have to do it at home, which has been easier when it comes to facing Ottawa than facing them in Ottawa this year. Now, leading scorers for Ottawa on the road, Pajot leads them with 13 goals, 3 assists. Again, we'll see if he's still a member of the team at the time this video goes up. I get the feeling that now that we're less than 2 weeks out, Zucker gets moved to Pittsburgh. The arms race has really begun. That trade with Toronto, that was more of shoring things up. Zucker going to Pittsburgh is shots fired, and other teams are going to need to answer. Connor Brown, 4 goals, 11 assists for him. Tkachuk, 9 goals, 5 assists. Ennis with 5 goals and 9 assists. And Shabbat on the road, 1 goal, 12 assists for the Ottawa Senators. On the Colorado side of things, at home, Nathan McKinnon, he's good at home, he's good on the road. 18 goals, 22 assists for him. Nazem Kadri, who of course is out. We'll talk about that in the News of the Day video today. He won't be back for quite a while. 10 goals, 10 assists for him. It's too bad, too, because Kadri was having a fantastic year in Colorado. Makar, 6 goals, 14 assists. Rantanen, 7 goals, 12 assists. And Donskoy, 11 goals and 7 assists to round out the scoring for the Colorado Avalanche. He'll need to step it up a bit with Kadri out. And it really does change the complexion of that team. That may very well be something that hurts their ability to catch St. Louis and maybe their ability to fend off Dallas. I think Kadri's been fantastic for them. That being said, next up, Chicago in against Edmonton. Chicago Blackhawks. These guys. And I'm wearing Chicago for a simple reason that I think there's too much of a reaction when they lose. Sometimes there's too much of a reaction when they win from their fan base. They're 25, 22, and 8. It is a mediocre overall record. It is. They've won 25 out of 55 games. But they're 6-2 and 2 in their last 10. On the road, they're 13, 10, and 4. They are better on the road than they are at home. So they play Edmonton, then they play Vancouver. They'll be in Vancouver for the jersey retirement night. I do like their chances tonight, and we'll see what happens tomorrow against Vancouver. But for tonight, I do. I like their chances a bit. That being said, the Oilers 29, 20, and 6. They're 6-3 and 1 in their last 10, so both teams over their last 10 have 6 wins. At home, they're 14, 9, and 4. I do think that Edmonton's better on the road. Chicago won this matchup October 14th in Chicago, 3-1. They will meet again March 5th in Chicago, so this is the only meeting they have in Edmonton this year. Patrick Kane, 13 goals, 14 assists, leads Chicago in road scoring this year. Taves, 8 goals, 17 assists. Kubalik, 12 goals, 8 assists. Chicago fans love him. I understand why. DeBrincat, 6 goals, 9 assists. What in the heck is going on with DeBrincat? Gustafsson, 4 goals and 11 assists, 15 points. On the Edmonton side of things, McDavid, who it's a mystery what's going on with McDavid. 15 goals, 30 assists, 45 points. He's hurt, but it's okay. It's not a big deal, but it could be, but it's not. But it might be. It's not a big deal. It's fine. It's not like he's had a leg problem before. What's that? Nothing. It's nothing. It's not a big deal. No idea. Draisaitl, 17 goals, 27 assists, 44 points at home for Edmonton this year. Nugent Hopkins, 6 goals, 15 assists, 21 points. That's a massive drop between second and third on the scoring list. James Neal, 8 goals, 8 assists, 16 points. And Klefbom, 1 goal, 15 assists. One of the most underrated defensemen in the National Hockey League is Oscar Klefbom. I believe that. I do. All right, moving along to the last game of the night, which is St. Louis in against Anaheim. And this one starts at 7 o'clock Pacific, 10 o'clock Eastern. St. Louis, some hard times for St. Louis. Might benefit them to go out to California, get a little bit of a break from it. They're 32, 15, and 9 overall. Maybe go to Disneyland, hang out there for a while. I've done it. It's kind of fun. 3, 5, and 2 in their last 10. So don't spend too much time in Disneyland or you'll be 3, 6, and 2 in your last 11. On the road, they're 14-10-4. So St. Louis, they've got to get it together. They're definitely better at home than they are on the road. We'll see how tonight goes for them because Anaheim isn't bad at home. Anaheim's 23-26-7, and where it gets interesting is they are 6-2-2 in their last 10. And this is where, when I'm doing the power rankings board that I'm pointing at right now, this is where it gets tricky because there are plenty of teams that have played well over the last few weeks. It's a matter of how does that reflect in terms of their relation to every other team in the league. So 6-2-2 in their last 10, not bad. They had a decent road trip, not great. At home, they're 12-10-3. Anaheim has won both meetings with St. Louis this year. Yeah, so don't party too much St. Louis in Disney because you'll give yourself a tummy ache. It's tummy, that's the right word. And it's scientific, that one. And you could find yourselves coming out on the losing end in Anaheim. Don't take them lightly. Anaheim won in St. Louis November 16th, 4-1, and Anaheim won this one in January 13th, 4-1 at home. So scoring on the road for St. Louis, Perron, 10 goals, 21 assists, 31 points. Pietrangelo, 9 goals, 17 assists on the road. O'Reilly, 8 goals, 18 assists. Braden Shen, 12 goals and 11 assists. Schwartz, 7 goals, 14 assists to round out the scoring for the Blues. On the Anaheim side of things, Raquel leads them in home scoring, which kind of surprised me a little bit. 8 goals, 11 assists. He's ahead of Getzlaf, who has 5 goals, 12 assists. Silverberg, 9 goals, 6 assists. Fowler, 3 goals and 11 assists. And Kasha, 4 goals, 9 assists, 13 points. And as we get closer to the trade deadline, his name started propping up in trade rumors again because, of course, Kasha's an interesting potential goal scorer who looks like he could probably use a trade. And I don't know that Anaheim wouldn't mind moving him either for the right price. But there you go. You guys are all set for the 11 games tonight. Let me know your winners, all that other wonderful stuff in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. If you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for all your support. Jeremy, Flyers fan, thank you for the magazines. Greatly appreciated. I will talk to you again soon.